Let me paint a picture for you real quick. Outline a scenario. Story time with KC to start off today. Let's imagine for a second that you are out of college, into your career maybe 2-3 years, in your late 20s, and you've just changed jobs from the first job that you got out of college. For argument's sake, let's just say that you're a salesman of some kind, industrial sales, car sales, whatever the fuck. The first 3 years of your career was kind of a learning curve, but your first year with this new company couldn't have gone any better. As the new guy, you hit the ground running. It's a little bumpy at first. You make some mistakes as you're learning, as you go along, but halfway through the year, you really hit your stride. Your sales numbers are through the roof. You're the new young superstar in the company, beating out veteran salesmen who have been with the company for years. At the end of the year award ceremony, you're given awards, maybe elected to the all-star team for the company or what have you. But when the final numbers are tallied up, you're beaten by another sales rep by maybe a couple of $1,000s on the year-end numbers. You were so close to being number one in the company, and would have been, but you missed out on, say, one big order towards the end of the year because some type of mistake that you made. But all is well. You go into the next year with the mindset that you can build off the previous year's success, and you're determined to make it to the top, the number one spot. 2 to 3 months into the new year, things begin to change. A 15-year veteran salesman from another company, a competing company, becomes available. And he wants to join the company that you're working for. Your boss is highly interested in this veteran sales guy. He has a pedigree. He has a legacy in the business. He has contacts throughout the business. He can bring over millions of dollars a year with him to the new company. All of a sudden, your boss begins acting kind of strange towards you. You get the feeling that your days could be numbered. You're the rookie salesman. You don't have the relationships with people in the company like others do because you haven't been there as long. Naturally, your confidence begins to take a hit and it begins to show in your work. This type of thing happens all of the time in the regular workforce. And it happens in the NFL too. I bring this up because the scenario that I just outlined is similar to what's been going on this offseason with Jimmy Garoppolo and the San Francisco 49ers. Jimmy G has been catching shit ever since the Super Bowl, and I don't understand why. I don't get it. I admit, I wasn't a believer in Jimmy G at the start of last season. I had my doubts. As the season progressed, my opinion of him changed completely, especially after he went into New Orleans and outdueled Drew Brees in the Superdome. Very few quarterbacks can do that, especially in a game of that magnitude. Now, people will point to the fact that Jimmy G gave up a 20-10 lead in the fourth quarter of the Super Bowl, and he was playing terrible as he did it. They'll point to the god-awful interception he threw in the first half that pretty much gave the Chiefs 3 free points. They'll point to the overthrown pass to Emmanuel Sanders in the fourth quarter that would have been the game-winning touchdown. But what about the 49ers defense? I don't remember seeing Jimmy Garoppolo on the field in the fourth quarter when the so-called elite Niners defense gave up 21 points in 15 minutes. I don't remember Jimmy G standing on the sidelines with a 10-point lead, refusing to run the football. That was Kyle Shanahan. Speaking of Kyle Shanahan, that was the second double-digit lead that he's given up in a Super Bowl. He was the offensive coordinator in Atlanta when they gave up that 28-3 lead to New England. Everyone wants to talk about the 2 interceptions that Jimmy Garoppolo threw in the Super Bowl. Now flip the script real quick. Let's say that the Niners ended up winning the Super Bowl. Do you think that Patrick Mahomes would have received the shit and the backlash that Jimmy Garoppolo has gotten? Mahomes threw 2 interceptions in that game. would he be treated like Jimmy G has been? Of course not, because Mahomes is the new golden child in the NFL. NFL fans, sports media personalities, analysts, whatever the fuck, they are supposed to doubt or question things. They're supposed to maybe doubt Jimmy Garoppolo, but I wouldn't expect Jimmy G's own team to be one of the doubters. That's been the case this entire offseason in San Francisco. Now, sure, Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch are saying all the right things right now, but the damage has already been done. I feel like they are in damage control mode the past month or so. It seems like every week there is a new comment by either Kyle Shanahan or John Lynch talking about how they considered bringing in Tom Brady for a couple of days max. Then they realized that we already have our long-term quarterback in Jimmy Garoppolo, so we didn't really need Tom Brady. Actions speak louder than words. Shanahan and John Lynch can come out every day and praise Jimmy G all they want. It means nothing. It wasn't only the fact that the Niners were considering trading Jimmy G and signing Tom Brady. It's that it was done publicly. Everybody knows about it. If you're Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch, why in the fuck would you admit to this publicly? This could have been kept behind closed doors. It doesn't make any sense. Honesty is not always the best policy. No one needed to know that you consider dumping your 28-year-old quarterback who hasn't even entered the prime of his career for an aging legend who might have 2 years left to play. Not only that, but they won't let this story die. Just a couple of days ago, Kyle Shanahan was discussing this with the NBC affiliate in San Francisco. How do you think Jimmy Garoppolo feels about this? If I were him, I would be pissed off. What more do I have to prove to you motherfuckers? You mean to tell me that I helped this team to a Super Bowl and it's not enough? If I'm Jimmy G, I've lost a lot of faith in the Niners as an organization. I think this could have serious ramifications in the San Francisco locker room this season. Jimmy G's a popular guy in that locker room. Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch have been working a few years to build up this culture, mainly through the draft. And in one offseason, they could potentially fuck it all up. But KC, you can't blame them for going after Tom Brady. He's the best to ever play the position. They would be stupid to not at least consider signing Tom Brady. And they turned it down. So all should be well with the Niners and Jimmy G. First of all, I don't think that San Francisco turned down Tom Brady. I think it was the other way around. I believe that if Tom Brady had shown strong interest in signing with San Francisco, he would be wearing number 12 in Santa Clara this season. So all of this talk about we considered it, but ultimately we thought Jimmy G was our guy, I'm not fucking buying it. More importantly, though, I think it was a huge mistake for San Francisco to consider letting Jimmy G go for Tom Brady in the first place. I think it was a monumental mistake. It doesn't make sense, like I said earlier. I don't care that Tom Brady is the GOAT. It doesn't make sense to let your 28-year-old quarterback walk, who hasn't even reached his full potential, for a 43-year-old quarterback who is coming off the worst season of his NFL career and is well past his prime. And people are acting like San Francisco just had to consider this. They didn't have to consider this. If Tom Brady called up Andy Reid and said, I want to come play for you in Kansas City, do you think that Andy Reid and the Chiefs are going to let Patrick Mahomes go for 1 to 2 years of Tom Brady? Hell no. I didn't see John Harbaugh in Baltimore reaching out to Tom Brady. Philadelphia, Pittsburgh, New Orleans, Seattle, Arizona, 90% of the fucking league did not reach out to Tom Brady. Even Matt Patricia in Detroit, who's got ties, strong ties to Tom Brady, was in New England with him for 14 years. He didn't reach out to Tom Brady to come play for the Lions in Detroit. So San Francisco did not have to consider this. The pressure in 2020 is all on Jimmy G's shoulders. Instead of going into this season off the success of last year with the full confidence of his coach and general manager, he has them questioning whether or not he is the long-term answer at quarterback. And the pressure is not only coming internally from within the organization, there's external pressure as well. Now, the Niners declined to offer an extension to Jimmy G this offseason. Now, you might be thinking to yourself, well, he's got 3 years left on his deal, so there's no reason for San Francisco to offer him an extension, which is true. But the reason San Francisco didn't offer him an extension is because they're not sure if Jimmy G is their answer long-term at quarterback. All of the guaranteed money in Jimmy G's contract has been paid out. So if he doesn't play up to the Niners standards in 2020, they can release him and take a minimal cap hit. I mean, it is a super small cap hit. I mentioned external pressure 2 minutes ago. I saw an article yesterday in Sports Illustrated saying that Jimmy Garoppolo is the 49ers player with the most to prove in 2020. Are you fucking out of your mind? When Atlanta blew a 28-3 lead to the Patriots in the Super Bowl a few years ago, I don't remember people coming out that offseason questioning Matt Ryan's viability as the long-term quarterback in Atlanta. I feel like Jimmy G is being unfairly dumped on by his own team and the media and fans. People tend to forget 2019 was essentially his rookie year in the NFL. It was the first year that he played a full 16-game schedule. Was he a turnover machine at times last year? Absolutely. He threw some bad interceptions. 18 turnovers in 16 games is not ideal. But he was also able to overcome a lot of those turnovers. He had 4 game-winning drives last season. He was the only quarterback in the NFL to rank in the top 5 in yards per attempt, passing touchdowns, and completion percentage. The only quarterback in the NFL to do that. So, in his first season as a full-time starter, after coming off of an ACL injury, he's the only guy to finish in the top 5 in those 3 categories. Leads his team to the number 1 spot in the NFC. Beats Minnesota and Green Bay to lead the Niners to the Super Bowl. And all because he had a bad 4th quarter in the Super Bowl. He's got something left to prove? He's questioned as the long-term starter in San Francisco? Really? It just doesn't make sense. If this were Patrick Mahomes and he lost the Super Bowl, no one would be questioning whether or not he's the long-term answer in Kansas City. Plus, what happens if San Francisco makes the playoffs next year but doesn't make it to the Super Bowl? Let's say the team regresses a bit, but Jimmy G plays the same. He has a similar type of year. All of a sudden, Aaron Rodgers is available in the 2021 offseason. Are we going to be in this same situation again next year in San Francisco? Rodgers was born and raised in Northern California. Are Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch going to go after him? Release Jimmy G altogether? Happened this offseason with Tom Brady, so the precedent's already set in San Francisco. You know that scenario has got to be in the back of Jimmy G's mind. I feel like the main problem right now in San Francisco is Kyle Shanahan doesn't fully believe, doesn't have full faith in Jimmy Garoppolo. I know that he's saying all the right things in the media. I know that he's saying that he wants the type of coach-quarterback relationship that Bill Belichick and Tom Brady had. But his actions speak a completely different story. I don't think it's a coincidence that the Niners were run heavy the majority of the playoffs. And at times in the Super Bowl. Jimmy Garoppolo averaged almost 30 pass attempts a game in the regular season. The 2 playoff games leading up to the Super Bowl, he averaged 13. That is a huge drop-off. Starting in the game against the Vikings, I think Kyle Shanahan lost faith in Jimmy G. He threw that awful interception early in that game. And then Kyle Shanahan limited his passing attempts the rest of the game. Same thing happened in the Super Bowl. Jimmy G threw an interception in the first quarter that led to an early field goal for Kansas City. Kyle Shanahan, in turn, limited his passing attempts for the rest of the game. Going into the fourth quarter of the Super Bowl, Jimmy Garoppolo had just 19 passing attempts. Patrick Mahomes had 19 passing attempts in the fourth quarter alone. It's hard enough to make it to back-to-back Super Bowls. But now, all season long this season, Jimmy Garoppolo is going to have the thought in the back of his mind, am I playing well enough to be here next season? If I take that risk, if I throw this pass and it ends up being a turnover, will that seal my fate? If we don't make it back to the Super Bowl, is my coach and general manager going to go after a legendary quarterback in the offseason and replace me altogether? You know those thoughts are going to be in the back of his mind. Like I said earlier, Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch can praise Jimmy Garoppolo in the media all they want, but their actions are saying something completely different. I don't think they believe he is their long-term starter in San Francisco. All right, that's all for today. Make sure to hit that like and subscribe button for me. Click that notification bell to receive all notifications from the channel. I appreciate those of you that have already done so. I appreciate the support. Leave me a comment in the section below. Let me know what you think about Jimmy G and the San Francisco 49ers. Do Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch have faith in him as their long-term starter? Has he been unfairly criticized by the media? What do you think about San Francisco going after Tom Brady this offseason? And if Jimmy G doesn't lead the Niners to the Super Bowl in 2020, could they go after Aaron Rodgers next offseason? Let me know what you think. You can follow me on Twitter at KC_BTL84. You can contact me by email at BTLKC84@gmail.com. I will see you guys next time.